Okay, well, welcome everyone. I'm Graham Jobling, the Executive Director of the College of Law here in South Australia, and I'd like to welcome you to this webinar of PLT information about the Practical Legal Training Program or Graduate Diploma in Legal Practice here in Adelaide. As we gather for this webinar, we recognise that many of us are on different lands of different traditional custodians, and I'd like to acknowledge all the traditional custodians of the lands we are all present on today, and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are participating in this webinar. I would like to pay my respects to each of their elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to also introduce my co-hosts this evening. Firstly, Adriana Manis. Adriana is engaged as an independent contractor here at the College of Law, filling the roles of lecturer, oral assessor and subject matter expert. And outside of the college, Adriana is the National Compliance Manager and Company Secretary for the Animal Welfare League Australia. Adriana was admitted to practice in 2009. She spent about 10 years in private practice working mainly in family, criminal, wills and estates, and then Adriana worked for the Law Society for some time. Welcome, Adriana. And I'd also like to introduce Joel Niles. Joel is a graduate of the college's PLT program here in Adelaide. He's also a lawyer with Tyndall Gass Bentley, working in family law. Joel graduated from law in 2019 and from the college's GDLP program in 2020. Joel commenced with Tyndall Gass Bentley with the conveyancing team, then completed his PLT work experience requirements there, and in August this year was engaged as a solicitor with Tyndall Gass Bentley. And welcome, Joel. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and give you some information about the PLT in general, and then we'll come back to Adriana and Joel and invite them to provide some information about them, and also we'll take any questions. Now we've got the chat function open. If you've got any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat function at any stage, and we'll pick them up and answer those for you. Okay, so I'll share my screen now. Okay, this is about the Practical Legal Training Program, about activating your career. You would know by now that to be admitted as a legal practitioner in South Australia, you need your law degree, you need to complete your practical legal training, and you need to be a fit and proper person. You can commence the PLT program once you've completed your law degree, or if you have no more than 2 electives outstanding. If you have no more than 2 electives outstanding, you need permission from the local Board of Examiners, but that's very easy to get, and we've got documents prepared, templates prepared for you to be able to do that. So the PLT program consists of 3 things: coursework, work experience, and continuing professional education, or continuing professional development, as we call it in South Australia, or CPD, as you'll hear it called. Look, there are 5 compulsory subjects involved with the PLT program: civil litigation, commercial and corporate practice, ethics and professional responsibility, lawyer's skills, and property practice. And there are 8 electives, approved electives in the National Competency Standards. We offer all 8 electives, and whichever intake that you join with, you can select any 2 of those electives that you want to do. Why would you do the college's program? It's a program that you can fit the study into your life. We have 8 intakes a year, and the workshops are available on weekdays and evenings. And I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. You can study online or on campus. The online options will end soon because of the COVID situation coming to an end. Well, we hope. We're ready to go back online if we need to at any stage. And you can choose your hours. You can choose a full-time program or a part-time program. So the choices are yours all the way through. And the program is designed to, it's delivered as a practice-based learning program. It's designed to help you think and be a professional from day one. It's designed to assist you to bridge from being a law student to actually sitting down in front of clients across from the desk, taking instructions from them and considering their problem, solving their problems, putting solutions to them, and then dealing with their matter. So the program is actually arranged around you doing activities. You receive instructions from your manager. In this case, it's your lecturer. Although we call our people lecturers, the last thing they do is deliver a lecture. What they do is facilitate your learning. You receive instructions from them via the Canvas learning portal. You access resources to help you complete those tasks. You do the tasks and upload them into the learning portal. There's a picture of the civil litigation page, a task that's to be done and uploaded. And then you receive feedback from your supervisor or from your lecturer that demonstrates whether or not you have met the requirements or haven't met the requirements, which is exactly what would happen in practice as a young lawyer. You would hand in your work to your supervisor. Your supervisor would let you know whether or not you've met the standards or what else you need to address. And there is a piece of work with some inserted feedback provided back to the student. Then you undertake oral assessments at the end of each course. And the beauty of the oral assessment, there it is, you do it via your laptop or via even your telephone, whichever is suitable, your tablet, your computer. The beauty of the oral assessment is that you're dealing with your supervisor just like you'd be dealing with a client, and you're dealing face to face with your client. There's some testimony. This particular gentleman completed his law degree here in Adelaide, and he's now practicing in New South Wales after having completed the college's PLT program. At the moment, there are 3 options for work experience, although the 0-day option in practice component is only available to those who seek approval from the Board of Examiners. It's a provision that's been approved by the admitting authority here in South Australia. It's been approved during the COVID period. And so if for some reason, for a COVID reason, you can't undertake a placement, you can apply and complete the in practice component. Or there's the 15-day option, which is 15 days of work experience plus a clinical experience module. And that clinical experience module is a 6-week online program. Then the most popular program, work experience program here in South Australia for us, is the 75 days of work experience, of which 60 days can be accumulated in the 2-year period leading up to you starting your PLT. And that's if you've completed any work experience in any relevant legal office or legal agency in the 2 years leading up to the PLT. I'm more than happy to provide you with any information you'd like about that at any stage. We've got some contact details at the end. You also do continuing professional education requirements, and we actually provide you with a certificate of completion for legal tech and business skills for having completed those. And they're 10 online seminars, they're short courses, they're all roughly 1 hour in length, and you can complete them at any stage, 24/7, whilst you're doing your PLT. And they're things like getting started with the legal tech projects, foundational technologies with AI, data in the cloud, understanding financial information, networking, and personal branding. So it's all very important information that will assist you to prepare for your role in the legal profession. The fees are listed there. They've not increased in 2021. They're all listed there. If you're an Australian citizen, permanent resident, $9,640, and you can charge that to fee help. There's the course dates, at least the dates up until April. The beauty of the program in South Australia here is that we have 8 intakes, and of those 8 intakes, 7 of them you can choose to do full-time or part-time program. So we've got a program starting on the 13th of December, then again on the 17th of January. We also have an evening program starting on the 17th of January, and then the blended program on the 31st of January, 14th of February and 4th of April. There's then an intake in July, another intake in September next year. Now, the blended programs are the face-to-face programs, although I should say that the program that starts on the 13th of December is actually, the Skills Week will be delivered via Zoom, and then from the 17th of January onwards, they'll all be face-to-face, except for that online evening program, which is being presented via Zoom as well. That one is a part-time program, and the Skills Week, instead of being delivered Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, is delivered over it's about a 7-week period on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. So why would you study at the college? Because we provide you with flexibility. You choose when you want to study online or full-time, and it's a convenient option for you. We've got the 8 intakes in the year, and it's very practical learning while you're doing, and real-world tasks and other hands-on experiences. There's the contact information, but I will also pop up in the chat function shortly contact details for this office here. That's the contact telephone number for our student services team in Sydney. We work very closely with the student services team, know them all personally, and if they've got any queries or questions, they come to us. If we've got any queries, questions, we go to them. So they're there to assist you. So I'm going to stop sharing that now and just check to see if there are any questions online at this stage. And there's nothing there online at this stage for us to deal with. So first of all, I'm going to invite Adriana to give us a bit of insight into the PLT program from the perspective of a lecturer in the PLT program. Adriana.
Thanks, Graham. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. I've been a lecturer with the College of Law for about 5 years now. The reason why I enjoy my work at the college is because I genuinely enjoy sharing my knowledge and experiences from private practice and the not-for-profit sector with our future lawyers. We find that students get a lot from this course. And all lecturers are very approachable. We have a really good group here in South Australia, and I'm sure other states are the same. But yes, you'll find that all the lecturers here have got up-to-date knowledge of every course. We go through training to ensure that we are up to date. Many of us still work in these practice areas. A phone call away, and we're always happy to work with you one-on-one whenever we need to. So I guess I'll just do a little bit of an intro about the PLT program and how it does set you up for real life work. So you've come from university where you've sort of studied the philosophy of law and you're used to essay writing. So this course will take you away from that essay mentality into problem solving. So how do you actually apply the law? So you all know the law now from having your law degree. How do you actually apply it to your client's problem? So you will pretend that you've got a client sitting there and you need to go through their options for how does the law assist them, perhaps where are some loopholes that they could take advantage of, or there is potentially closed corners as well. So you need to, we get you to really analyse the client situation and go through the cycle of problem solving and also managing that client relationship. So it's not just about the law, but it's also about managing that client relationship and ensuring that you understand your professional obligations and the Australian Solicitor Conduct Rules as well. So that's why we all start off with the ethics course. The course really is designed to get you thinking like a lawyer, so to prepare you for your first day in practice. It's designed to simulate the relationship that you will have with your supervisor. So once you are admitted, you do need to complete a minimum of 2 years of supervision. So that's full time, or obviously more if you're working part time. And so the relationship that you have with your lecturer will be that of the supervisor. So you will essentially draft the activity will be drafting, for example, a letter of advice or a statement of claim or a file note. And then you will submit it to your lecturer, who is your supervisor, and your lecturer will give you feedback on that, just like your supervisor would in private practice. And then you're given a chance to resubmit that work. So while at university, you've been used to only having the one attempt when submitting work, and you obviously get a grade for that. Here it's very different. So you're either competent or not competent. It's not about getting high distinctions or any other grade. It's really whether you meet the standard of an entry-level lawyer. So what is expected by the South Australian community of an entry-level lawyer. And that is quite a high standard. So that's why this course is designed to prepare you for real life clients. Some of the subjects that you will look at, Graham has introduced you to already, but you will have those 5 core subjects. The first week being lawyer skills. That first week is more of an intense week. It's usually designed to be face-to-face, but since COVID has been online. And that's really designed to give you some foundational skills to apply to all the modules that you will then do after that. So you'll then have 4 core subjects to do after your lawyer skill week, and then you will also select 2 electives, and you've got a choice out of 8. It's after the first week, if you do happen to do it face to face, it is all online, and it's self-paced. It's adult learning here. So there is a timetable to stick to, but we are flexible with those due dates. We do understand that students have other commitments outside of the GDLP, and the GDLP cannot always be the top priority. So it's just a matter of engaging with your lecturer and just really letting us know that you might be a couple of days late with an assessment, and we're very obviously happy to deal with you on any issues like that. It's important to understand that you're not alone in this course. So even though after the face-to-face week, it is all online, you have your dedicated lecturer. So I often have one-on-one Zoom calls with students. Sometimes I'll do it in a group if I feel that everyone will benefit from it. Certainly if you're not available at that time, I will repeat the session. So if you do need to have a phone call or a Zoom discussion, we are always available for that. As I mentioned, resubmissions are available for all activities. So this course really is designed to get you to, I guess, perfect your work as best as possible. So the first draft is really just an initial draft. It will be given back to you with feedback for you to consider. The feedback won't have the answers, but it will point you in the right direction so that you're actually continuing to learn. So it's not about getting it right the first time. Most students don't. If you happen to, perhaps because you work in that practice area, that's great for you. But this course is about learning and developing those skills further. So we don't expect you to get it right the first go, and there's always obviously feedback to give to everyone because there's always an opportunity to learn. If I just talk through 1 or 2 activities that you might that you will be completing. So for example, when you get to the first module, which is ethics and professional responsibility, EPR, you will be given a conflict scenario. So we have a conflict of interest here. There's a conflict between some of your professional obligations, and you don't really know which way to go. And often it feels like a bit of an ethical straitjacket. So it's interesting how, in terms of how students actually navigate that conflict scenario. And like I said, we don't expect you to have all the answers, but it will enable you to know what your options are in terms of who you can seek advice from, and to understand the conduct rules a bit better, because you will have conflict situations throughout your career. So it's important to recognise them when they do come up. Another common activity is written submissions. So obviously for advocacy work, you're going to have to prepare submissions, and it's about connecting the evidence with the elements of the law that you need to address the court on. So submissions is also a very common exercise that you'll do, and students often feel much more comfortable preparing and giving oral submissions at the end of this course, because there are quite a few opportunities to do that. So not only are you given the opportunity to actually prepare written submissions, you're given the opportunity to present those submissions in your oral assessments. And another common one, of course, is a letter of advice, because that's something that lawyers do a lot. So giving advice to your clients in plain English, no legal jargon, really explaining the law to your clients so that they can come away feeling comfortable knowing what their options are. So it's really about teaching your client in a way. So even though we're teaching you as the students, you're also then teaching your client, and that's how I always saw myself when I was working in private practice, that I was teaching my client what the law was and how it applies to their situation. So I think that's all from me. I'll hand it back to Graham, unless there are any questions for me.
Thank you, Adriana. I really appreciate that. I'm actually going to hand straight over to Joel. The really terrific thing with Joel is Joel has come from where you are now, finished his law degree, completed his PLT, worked in the profession, and has now been appointed as a solicitor. And so his experience is very relevant to the sorts of things that you might expect yourselves. Thanks, Joel.
Thanks, Graham. Hi, everyone. I think Graham's given a bit of introduction to me already. Yeah, as Graham said, I was in your position not too long ago as well. And in choosing GDLP providers, there were always two things that were important to me. One was how practical the actual course was, and flexibility as well. And what I found was that the College of Law's program was really practical, coming straight out of uni, where a lot of it is book learning. Really the only practical exposure you got was if you did, moot courses or community legal experience work as a module at uni. So I found that the course was really practical. An example I can give you is when I was doing the commercial and corporate module, one of the ethics scenarios we got posed, that we got asked about, was actually something that I encountered pretty much a few days before at work as well. So it just goes to show that all the material has been put together to be as practical as possible. And even the structure of the course is meant to show you what it's like to be an entry-level lawyer. The structure where you prepare whatever it is, your written submissions or your draft correspondence. It'll always go in your first 2 years to a supervisor to look at. You'll get feedback on it, you make any amendments, and then it goes back again. That was really helpful for me because working in family law as a junior lawyer, that's pretty much what you do. You draft correspondence, you draft court documents, and everything is settled by your supervisor, and you get feedback on it, and you have the opportunity to have another go at it if it's not up to scratch. And really, the program replicates that very well. The other thing is flexibility, which is important for me because I initially enrolled full-time, but then because I started working, I had the option of switching back to part-time, which just allowed me to balance work and study as well, which was really helpful because it just means that you're not then spread too thin. You've got the opportunity to, apply yourself to the course, do your best there, and also balance any other commitments you might have, be it work or anything else that you've got. I just thought I'd share a couple of tips if you do end up proceeding with your GDLP and going along this pathway. One thing I would consider is, Graham did mention a couple of options with respect to your practical experience components. There's the 0 days at the minimum, and then there's the 75 days. I'd encourage you, if it's at all possible, to actually go for the 75-day option. I had the opportunity to actually add back some of my previous experience, as Graham mentioned, but I actually opted for the 75 days. The reason for that is if you find yourself settled in to a firm where you can do your placement, just going for that 75-day option really allows you the chance to settle in there, get as much exposure as you can possibly across 1, 2, or even 3 practice areas. And you really get to sink your teeth into it. And what that does is the more exposure you have, over the course of your POT in private practice, it just allows you to get a feel of what it's like to be not just an entry level lawyer, but a lawyer in general. And that was really helpful for me because I got to spend 75 days just learning from more experienced practitioners, getting a feel of what the area of practice was like, so that when I was appointed as a solicitor, the transition was a lot easier. So that's something, if you can, I'd encourage you to consider that. One of the other things that I enjoyed about the program was there were all these group work components rather. And the good thing with that is because you'll have a group of, say, 3 to 5 people, and often you'll all be in different firms doing experience in different areas, and you really get to learn from each other that way. I benefited a lot from that because just working on a common task with, say, 2 or 3 other people who've got different experiences and who are working in different areas, it really gives you just even more a flavor of what other areas are out there. And for some of you, maybe you don't exactly know what practice area you want to work in. That's really helpful for that as well. It just gives you a feel and understanding of different areas. And I just thought I'd touch on life after POT. In some cases, you might, once you finish your POT, the firm you're with might offer to have you stay on with them as a solicitor, as was the case for me, or you might have to look elsewhere. What I would encourage you to do in that situation is just stick with the process if you really want to proceed with the career, and don't lose sight of what your goal is. And having the College of Law's GDLP program under your belt really helps because you're able to demonstrate a real practical touch to your practice area, which can be quite attractive for employers when you get to that stage. I think that's all I had really to talk about. Unless there are any questions, I might pass back to Graham.
Actually, there is a question there for you, Joel.
Oh.
What electives did you choose and would you recommend them?
Sure. So I did family law and wills and estates. And with choosing your electives, what I would say is if there is a particular practice area that you really enjoy and you just want to get more experience and knowledge of, pick that first. So for me, it was really easy because I wanted to do family law. So my first elective was pretty much sorted itself out. I just ticked the box for family law. And with your second elective, if you can't really see another one that really attracts you, try to pick something that's connected to what you might want to do in the future. So with me, it made sense to pick wills and estates because there's a lot of interaction between family law and wills and estates. So it made sense that I'd pick those two. And looking back, actually doing the wills and estates elective really helped because it just gave me an understanding of how that practice area operated, and to think about if you've got clients that come to you for family law, for example, at the start and at the end of it, you can always say to them, have you considered updating your will? Because that's important. So yes, I may be biased, but I'd 100% recommend those two electives, family law and wills and estates. But I would say just pick something, pick the elective that's closest or to what you want to do if it's not the area you want to practice in. Failing that, just, go for some variety. I personally think there's no harm in knowing more than you need to, which is what I enjoyed about the program as well. You just all these other practice areas which are all important, even if you do end up specializing in a particular area. That little bit of extra knowledge never hurts. So I hope that's helpful.
Fantastic. Thanks, Joel. I might just add to that in terms of electives. Don't feel that when you do an elective that it pigeonholes you into a particular area of law. And there is very few firms that would say, well, which electives did you do? Okay, they're not the electives that we're interested in, therefore we won't engage you. All firms would understand that what you're doing with the electives is exploring different areas of law. And so don't feel like I've chosen that elective, therefore I've pigeonholed myself. You haven't done that at all. The other point that I'd like to make, Joel mentioned the 75-day work experience, and whenever you're out in work experience, there's two things that are really important that you should make the most of if you possibly can. And that first one is networking. Whatever you do in life, relationships are very important. The opportunity to build relationships and network with other people is really important. I've been involved with practical legal training now in South Australia for over 20 years, and the number of people who, 10 years later, they all say, "Oh, I know so and so very well because we did our PLT together, and we've kept in touch with each other throughout ever since." Or they've gone through law school together, or they did their placement together, or whatever. And you'll find that throughout your legal career, everyone is prepared to support each other. And so building those networks. And also it might provide you with an opportunity to identify a mentor out there. And a mentor is a great relationship to have as well. Someone who is non-judgmental, someone who can give you professional advice as you're building your career and your career profile. Look, I have another question here. With the 15-day placement option, the additional 6 weeks, can that be done both full and part-time? The way that the clinical experience module works, the additional 6 weeks, that's spread out over a 6-week period, and it's really a part-time load. It's designed to actually be able to be completed while you're perhaps working somewhere. And you might be working outside of law. You might be working a full-time role somewhere outside of law. So that 6-week program is done after you've done your 15 days of placement. But if you're doing a part-time program or a full-time program, provided you've done your 15 days of work experience, you can do the clinical experience module after 15 weeks of the program. So if you're studying part-time, you can do 15 days of work experience and then follow on and do your clinical experience module and have that all out of the way before you finish the coursework. If you've done the full-time program, it would mean that you've done 15 weeks of full-time program plus the 6 weeks of the clinical experience module. Now, the thing about work experience too, you don't need to make a choice when you start the program as to whether or not you go for the full-time or the part-time You don't need to commit yourself to a 15-day work experience or a 75-day work experience when you start the program. You can keep your options open. You may have completed some work experience, as Joel said. You may have completed some work experience earlier, but you still might want to go on and do another 75 days because that really is a great opportunity to get some experience, build those networks, get your face out there, build a bit of a reputation for yourself, and possibly even come away with a reference and so on. So those options are options that you can keep up your sleeve, and they're things that I'm more than happy to discuss with you at any time and provide you with some, talk through the options. I'm not going to give you advice. I'll talk through the options. It's up to you to decide which way to go. So yeah, look, there are no other questions at this stage. Before I call it for the evening, I'll just check with Adriana and Joel to see if they have anything else they'd like to contribute. And if you've got a question, pop it up there quick, smart. Otherwise, we'll bring this to an end. Adriana, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nothing further from me.
Fabulous. Thank you. Joel, anything else from you?
No, nothing further from me either.
Terrific. Okay. All right. If there's no other questions, thank you all very much. And I wish you all the best. You're welcome to ring me here at this office, 71007000. That's Adelaide, here in Grenfell Street in the city. Or email me. I've popped the email address up on a couple of occasions, so it's there if you need it. And if we can help you with anything, any stage, please yell out. Thank you very much, Adriana and Joel, for joining us, and I'm sure that you've assisted people in providing your insights, and thank you very much for that. So good night, everyone.
Thank you.